If you're ready to unlock more better days, to take control of your health, to push past your limits and unleash your full potential, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Dr. Jeremy Bettel. For over 2 decades, I've worked with elite athletes and high performers, helping them optimize their bodies, strengthen their minds, and recover from setbacks. Now I'm bringing that expertise to you through the Vitality Collective podcast. In each episode, we'll dive deep into the science, strategies, and real-world solutions you can apply right away. Whether it's enhancing your physical performance, avoiding or recovering from injury, sharpening your mental edge, or simply feeling your best every single day. With insights from top experts and thought leaders, this podcast is designed to help you take action, feel better, and live the life that you deserve. Welcome to the Vitality Collective podcast, where every day is vital. Today, I'm joined by Chris Ryan, a certified strength and conditioning specialist and one of America's top-ranked personal trainers. In this episode, we talk about the real reason most people never reach their fitness goals, covering why consistency beats intensity every time, how to train smarter in a fraction of the time, and what it means to build a program that actually fits your life. If you've ever started strong and fallen off, or wondered why more effort isn't getting better results, this conversation's for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Today is such a pleasure to welcome Chris Ryan to the show. We're super excited to get into this conversation today. We've talked so much about consistency, and you had a great post about consistency over time the other day. I can't wait to get into this. So, Chris, welcome. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, Jeremy. I'm honored to be here. You know, you and Michelle do great work within the fitness world, and honored to be a small part of that world with you guys today.
Yeah, this is going to be an exciting conversation, mate. And we feel really honored to have you on as well. So let's jump into that concept of consistency.
Yes.
Why is it that you think that consistency versus intensity is so important in getting these long-term gains that people are looking for?
I think, you know, earned, not given, I think is always the best way to go about it. But it's true, like the way our bodies are built, not to get too nerded out really quick in the beginning, but the way our bodies are built, like less is actually more. You know, if we do about 80% of the right things, we're going to get about 100% of the right results, right? I mean, within reason. If you want to train at a pro level, like your former, you know, your athletes that you've coached on the pro teams, that's at a whole different level. But for the vast wide majority of the Western world, if you will, that wants to partake in fitness and exercise and be healthier for that matter, and honestly needs to be healthier, as all the stats show, I liken it to the snowball effect. You go up to the top of a mountain, make a little snowball in your hand, put the snowball in the snow and kind of let it roll down the mountain. Well, guess what? If you start accumulating more snow, eventually it becomes a big boulder of snow coming down the mountainside. It'll get bigger, right? Another thing that I think I liken it to is anyone in the finance world or anyone that is employed as an adult, you hopefully have some sort of retirement savings or 401k or IRA plan. When you're in your 20s, if you put away $500 every paycheck, right? That could be worth millions of dollars by the time you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s, right? When you actually need that money. But let's say you start at 45, you might still get that same goal of whatever it is, $1 million or $2 million or $5 million at the end of the day when you're 65 and you retire. But you're going to have to put away, I'm just making up the numbers here, but you're going to have to put away $5,000 instead of $500 that you would have put away in your 20s. Same thing kind of goes with health and fitness, where if you and I are in our 40s, like if we started saving now for our retirement, we'd have to save a lot more to get to where we want to be at 65. Same way with health and fitness is if we start at 45, you know, versus 20, you can still do great things for yourself and the health and longevity. It might just take a little bit more. Maybe you've already gained that 20 pounds that you're trying to lose. But if you would have started when you were 20 or 25 and made the right choices of better sleep, limiting alcohol, moving your body a little bit. I know when I was in my 20s, I didn't make the right decisions a lot of the times. I was a knucklehead at times, even though I was in the health and fitness world. But it's just like, no one's perfect and no one's asking you to be perfect. But it's about being like those small wins over the course of time. And it's just like, go for those base hits. You do not need to like PR every single workout. You do not need to be looking at your favorite Instagram or TikTok or influencer saying, I'm going to do that. Well, guess what? There are like 23 years old and you're
Yeah.
46 or
Yeah.
56 or whatever it is. How about you just start out with some basic movements, stretch your body out a little bit, move with the mobility, get your posture a little bit better, strengthen your quads, your glutes, whatever it is, get some dorsiflexion going on with your knee and ankles so you can squat properly. You're going to feel better. Within 5 minutes, you're probably going to start to, release some endorphins, beat up cortisol a little bit more, and then you're going to be back for more maybe in a couple of days' time. And then you do that over the
Yeah.
course of time. And it's complex and simple at the same time, or it's simple and complex
Yeah.
at the same time. You can really like get down deep into the fitness world, which sometimes trainers do, or sometimes people do too much. Or you can just sit there and say, man, I just want to move better. I want to chase my kids. I have friends that had like a hurt
Yeah.
shoulder and they can't throw the ball with their kid in the backyard. And that's like sucks, even though they're athletic. And they're like, oh, I can't do that anymore. I'm like, you're 45, man. You should be able to throw a football like without pain
Yeah.
for 10 yards. Like maybe you can't throw a 60-yard bomb, but like just small things. Think about why you want to do what you want to do and actually the real goal of what you want to do.
Yeah. Such an important point that you make there about that. It's the goal of what you want to do. And I think, you came up in athletics running at Florida there, and you train for a goal.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost sight of that a little bit in fitness, where it's like, I want a six pack or, I want bigger arms, but what do you want to do with them?
Yeah.
Right. It's that function that we want in space. And I've had so many clients come through our program who they've actually been surprised, and they've come on and said, hey, I went away this week with my family, and me and my son always go and throw the football. And normally I got to stop after 5 minutes because my shoulder hurts. And I didn't even realize, but I've been out there an hour just throwing bombs. And it's transformational for people when they actually set just a different kind of goal.
Yes.
Not I want bigger shoulders, but I want my shoulders to work. And it's such an important point in training and in that incremental step-by-step process of how do we then go from where you are to that goal of throwing the football and design a program around that. I love how you frame that. The other piece with the consistency, Chris, is you had a great post recently on the season of life.
Yes.
And we've leaned into it a little bit there.
The gray hairs are coming out.
Yeah, we got it right.
You and I are just well seasoned at this point in our life, Jeremy. Like we're just well seasoned, man.
Exactly.
Let me tell you about back in the day.
Yeah, you when you're in your 20s, you don't really know that. And Michelle and I have had some great periods in our life when we've just been in shape, and you are just like tuned in, and then we became entrepreneurs. Right? And it's funny because you go from doing these perfect workouts where, you're really in your intense workouts, but you're also pretty consistent. And then your time starts shrinking away from you. And you don't suddenly have that 90 minutes to do the workout. Talk a little bit about that season of life and the adaptability within your training in terms of keeping that consistency.
Oh, I think I'm going to, use my wife as an example. So when I met her, she was a career professional attorney, amazing woman that she is, but she was living in Soho, going to the fitness classes and going to Equinox and doing strength training and all the stuff. She did some triathlons, ran the New York City Marathon, doing it all, right? And then, and we met, fell in love, and lived happily ever after to this day. Thank goodness. Best decision I ever made. When she was in her late 20s, early 30s, and you're living that kind of like single life before you become a mom or a dad for that matter, you kind of have this perspective of like, I get to go hang out for 90 minutes at the gym. Oh, I can take that class at 8 a.m. on Saturday. Or I can take my favorite trainer instructor after work at 7:30 tonight. And when you're like 30, if you're not married without children, you can do that sort of a thing. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, when your time gets contracted a little bit more and condensed down, you can't necessarily make those same choices for those classes or those trainers or going 30 minutes to the gym and having your eucalyptus towel bath afterward and whatever else you want to do to like be good to yourself. You might have to think about things a little bit more compartmentalized and say, okay, I have 30 minutes at my kids' practice today. I can bring my kettlebell, I can bring my dumbbells, I can bring a band. Hell, I don't have to bring anything. I can just go for a walk
Yeah.
while they're at practice, and I
Yeah.
can catch the last half hour of their hour-long practice too. And I'll still be a good mom or dad for doing that, or go for a run, whatever it might be. So sometimes people think everything's got to be so darn perfect for themselves, you
Yeah.
know? Life is not perfect. I really think of like adherence and dealing with like realizing like sticking to the plan is right, but also like being malleable with that plan and flexing that
Yeah.
plan to meet your life where it's at that point in time. Now we have 3 kids. Last night, perfect example. My wife had a long day. She was tired. She was upstairs. She was the little guy. We have a 2.5-year-old and a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. Our little guy finally went to bed. It was probably 8:45. Last thing she wanted to do was work out, but she did want to work out. So I came downstairs, grabbed a lighter pair of dumbbells, gave her a 5-round circuit of like several different like some squats, some sumo squats, some lunges, some curls, overhead presses, super basic.
Yeah.
But when you did 5 rounds on an RDL, and when you did 5 rounds of those 5 or 6 exercises, whatever it was, for 10 reps, right? Nothing that really got her going to where she couldn't sleep if she was too late. But
Right.
after like 1 round, she's like, "Oh my God, so thankful you brought these up." Because like for
Yeah.
her, like you need that kind of help sometimes, because for her to come all the way down to this gym from the 2nd floor, all of
Yeah.
a 30-second walk. But when you're tired and you have a little toddler
Yeah.
waking you up at all nights and points, and you have a career
Yeah.
and all that, you just kind of got to think of like, well, what else? What could you do in this moment? And
So tell me, Chris, how long did that take? That
took like,
the 5
honestly,
times around?
I think even, and what was even cooler about the whole situation is our 2 oldest ones were in bed, or they were in our bed, like, you know, hanging out. Our son was sketching or doing something with this project that they had to work on for this book report. And our daughter was like doing, I think she was reading her book for school reading or something, but we were all kind of having a conversation along the way, spending time together, and nothing. It took like 15, 16 minutes, I think, max, to where, you know, each round probably took like a minute and a half or so,
Yeah.
maybe 2 minutes, or maybe 2 minutes around, and like a 30-second break. I told her, go light, but then take a shorter break so you can kind of keep that intensity somewhat higher. But it was one of those things that the warm up was included in the workout because the weights were lighter dumbbells for her. Relatively, I think it was like 10-pound dumbbells or something, which after you do all those reps for 5 rounds, it's, you know, you're going to get a little sweat on, but it stretches out your hamstrings.
Yeah.
You move your body.
Yeah.
You did some squats. You got your hips open. You pulled your shoulders back. You got your core a little tighter, and your arms feel a little bit of a pump before bed, and you have a better posture at the end of the day. And most importantly, you feel good about yourself. You beat some cortisol down, and you release, you release some endorphins along the way, and you felt like you still did something, because guess what? You actually did do something. And that's just like a super one-off example. I had tons of those examples for myself, my clients, and everyone else that, like, as you get older in life and training for the season that you're in, I'm sure we could have this discussion 10 years from now for both of us, and we'll probably come up with something different when we're in our 50s, right? But I look at training differently, because when you're an athlete, it's almost like sometimes athletes don't know how not to be an athlete anymore, because everything, it's not gray anymore. Like when you're an athlete, it's black and white. And then it becomes more gray as you become more an adult, because then you have to think about your career. Like, did you travel? Did you sleep like crap last night before? Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Are you postpartum, prepartum as a woman? Are you a dad who's like waking up with a toddler in the middle, or the baby in the middle of the night, and you're like sleeping like 2 hours intervals if you're lucky?
Yeah.
Which, as a parent, that's what you go through. Like, you just know it. We've had 3 kids. It's all the same. There's some point in there. You're like, there's not a coffee in the world, but it's the most rewarding thing in the world. But at the same time, you got to realize, okay, if I can squeeze out a 5-minute workout of 3 rounds of 10 squats, 10 push-ups, and 10 sit-ups, that's pretty damn good today. And that's cool.
And that Chris, that's the real point in this that I really want people to take away from this segment, is the density of the workout that you've described. If you had done a set, taken a break, done another set, and you did 5 rounds of 6 exercises, you could be 2 hours in the gym.
Totally.
But you got the density of work that you would do in 90 minutes down to 15 minutes. That's how Michelle and I approach this, and how we encourage busy people, busy execs in this season of life, are these exercise snacks. And honestly, like when I was with the Maple Leafs, our day was planned like to the second Our coaches meetings, the video meeting for the players, was 4 minutes and 20 seconds
Yep.
every day.
Yep.
Right? When we had players come in the weight room, we had 15 minutes with the team. Right? So it wasn't like we've got these pro athletes and we have them all day to work out. Right? We've got to feed them, we've got to do treatments, and then we've got to lift.
Mhm.
So that workout that we got in was, what's the minimum effective dose? What's an exercise snack that we can do every single day with these guys versus that one really big workout? And we went 3.5 years without having an injury,
Mhm.
right? We produced
Amazing.
results where the guys were in unbelievable shape. They were healthy. We had the healthiest squad that hockey had seen. And it really was a testament to exactly what you're alluding to. Where we as professionals get mixed up is that we know what the perfect workout looks like.
Exactly.
So it's actually really hard to adjust away from it. And it has been for us coming into this season of our life as entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
But once we made that switch, we realized we can go into the gym. We got 15 minutes. We can get in and do something great.
Mhm.
Right? You don't have to wait for that perfect window and that perfect energy to open up.
It's great. To that point of being a former, athlete. I think everyone's an athlete for the rest of their lives. I think you're an athlete in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
Just a different version of that athletic self that you
exactly.
used to be. But I remember, I forget what it was. It was like, I think it was either a YouTube thing or one of those Netflix episodes with the receiver with Kittle from the 49ers tight end.
Yeah.
And he was on it, and something, I don't know if it was during the episode or an interview I saw on Instagram or YouTube or something afterward, but he had said that, during the season, if he could hit 2 reps at 315 on the front squat, he's good. And it was kind of like his thesis of like, okay, bare minimum is if I can do 2 at 315 on the front squat in good form, I know I'm strong enough. I know I'm going to maintain my weight, right? Because certain people can lose weight during the season, which I'm sure he was afraid
absolutely.
of. But I love that idea because I kind of think that same way for myself. I'm like, trap bars, like kind of like my go-to. I know if I can do certain things there, but I put that into efficient workouts. Like where if I was 25 and I had all the time in the world, you bet I would get my little spreadsheet out and just nerd out on
Yeah.
okay, here's my hip mobility warm up and here's this. But what can I do to still maintain a certain health factor and a certain lower my risk factor of hurting myself?
Yeah.
But also maintain that intensity at a higher level. And I've broke it down for myself personally or my clients that I know there's certain lifts or certain things that they can handle, but we can ramp that intensity up pretty quickly, but at the same time safely, right? And you figure out certain lifts, maybe you just don't do as much anymore, or certain lifts, those are the deal breaker. Like you always do that lift once a week. And I that's another thing too, is I tend to think of things in a weekly basis and a monthly basis more than a daily basis. Because I don't care who you are, the executives, you might have a fire drill of a meeting or something goes on with a client. Your day is just shot to hell. You can't do anything about it. The last thing you're going to do is work out, nor should you work out because you got to take care of this business for yourself, right? And you should, or family, kids are sick, spouse is on a business travel, it's whatever. Food needs to be made, homework needs to be done, tests need to be studied for, whatever it is, just curveball after curveball. But in general, most of those curveballs can be had within a day or 2 or 3. And then if you can kind of reset yourself a little bit, so don't sweat it if it's oh my God, Monday and Tuesday were crapola. And then Wednesday, Thursday, you know what? Maybe you can just reset, do something small, get your perspective back and be like, oh my God, not only did I need that, but I needed that to be better to combat what happened over the last day or 2, right? To take care of that.
Yeah. We did a recent episode on recovery, which I think is a really important piece here. And there's the different systems that you're recovering, right? There's cognitive, there's cardiovascular, there's nervous system, and there's muscular. And we forget as busy professionals the cognitive load that we're under.
100%.
That we actually don't just need to keep hammering the body.
Yep.
When we look at it, we also zoom out, because the thing about consistency, and this is really something I don't know if it's social media has driven us this way or the commercial fitness, like you'd see it in magazines before. There was social media, but we're led to believe that the results happen faster than they do, right?
Exactly.
30-day abs, right?
Yeah.
Like 6 weeks to the perfect diet and all
Yep.
these sorts of narratives that are out there. And so when you think like that, the day becomes important, right? And you start thinking about, I've got to kill it today. Like my intensity today has got to be through the roof.
hmm
But it makes it really hard to stick to. Like you can't be that intense every day. And what I've found, we discussed on our intro call, my journey from being a strength and power athlete and a strength and power focus over the last 20 plus years into now starting to do some aerobic work, right?
Oh
So I'm
no.
out running now, right?
Conquering
And
foreign lands. Yeah.
it is like, we did it so that we could go through the process of not being very good at something to getting better at it.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And that process has taught Michelle and I that there are no hacks. That's not how the body responds. Right. All of the marketing messages, you certainly in your 20s, you buy them all, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
exogenous ketones and,
Yeah.
this protein powder, this is going to really make the difference, right?
Yeah.
It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where that zoomed out view of the week, the month, it becomes really, really important.
The funny thing is, creatine's getting all the rage. I've taken creatine since I was 16, and especially amongst women, which is great. I'm 100% for creatine, but I'm like,
Yeah.
creatine is like, it's a small tool that actually is super effective, but you got to work out. You don't take creatine and just sit there and be like, oh, look at my biceps, they're going to be so damn big. Or I just
Exactly.
like lowered 1 minute of my mile time, or now I just added 5 inches to my vertical. You actually have to put in the work, but creatine will give you that extra little like 1 or 2%, which
Yes.
I've already done science experiments on myself over the course of my life of like running. I was like, oh my God, like actually it does help, right? Like the cognitive effects, I think like they say it helps, and maybe it does, but I could probably use a little bit more at times, but I think that's just being a tired dad. But no, I mean, like, I think like, but sometimes people just like, they want to have that quick fix, like whatever it is. And I'm like, it's just a tool. And just like that squat rack is just a tool. But if you just sit there and look at it and you don't use it, or you don't use the Echo bike, you don't go out there and use the hill behind your house to go do hill sprints, you're not going to get any faster. You're not getting any stronger. You're not getting any better. You can't just like learn by osmosis by touching it, or get stronger by osmosis by touching that. You got to like put in the work, but effectively along the same times. And a lot of times it's not as much work as people think. It's more about the consistency in those patterns. And also, you could get back to the programming of like, maybe you don't need to do all that volume that you think you did in your 20s. Maybe you can cut back a little bit more. I'm sure Tom Brady is not training the same way that he used to as a quarterback, as a broadcaster and a media personality, and all his entrepreneurial endeavors and that he's doing right now. Now, obviously, he's still training because he looks fit and everything else, but like he's probably not doing the exact same thing, right? You and I are in the fitness world. We're trainers. We sit. I can guarantee you and I sit as much as any sort of finance, law professional or anything else, right? Now, granted, I'm here talking and doing things and whatever else and work on my app, but I'm able to like grab a PVC pipe and like stretch out real quick. Like I'm not in a physical office, like white collar setting, if you will, or commuting in a car for an hour a day or something like that. But I do think like within those little scopes, you can figure out little pockets of when you can move your body correctly, but you're gonna have to pay yourself first at the same time. Like set aside that little time to get it done and make sure you do it.
And I want to reinforce the thing you just said there about those little movement pieces, because I'm the same. I've gone from being in a team environment around 100 people a day and you're just moving all day to now, very much I'm working with my clients virtually. I'm hosting the podcast. So I'm in this room like almost all day, every day. Right. And so the little movements that you can getting up, grabbing the PVC pipe and stretching, grabbing the bands, doing a few sets of rows, just moving the body consistently throughout the day have been key for us. And I tell you, the other thing is we've started this running program and really digging into the aerobic fitness side. I found to be hugely beneficial in my consistency, because it's so accessible,
Yes.
right? I just got to open the door, put on my shoes, and off I go.
Running's the cheapest sport
Right.
anyone could do. Like it really
It's so
like,
good.
Yeah. Hockey's probably one of the most expensive things you could do. And running's
Exactly.
probably like the most cheapest, the ridiculously like thing that you could do. Like just walk out your door. Like you said, it's like there's zero excuses, but there's every excuse too, because it's hard.
It's hard.
Now granted, for me, I don't like to run on pavement as much. I'm very lucky. I have a small gym around the corner that I can go to that has a woodway treadmill.
Nice.
That feels like a freaking
Are they
amazing
beautiful?
on my 45-year-old joints. Like whoever engineered that, like I think,
well done.
chef's kiss to you guys. Cause I grew up running on a treadmill because growing up in Michigan, trying to compete at a certain level. I still remember my dad bought one of the only models that could go to 12.4 miles per hour at the time in the 90s. That was like the Ferrari of treadmills. I mean, I ended up paying because I ended up going to run at college and stuff. But boy, the amount of hours I spent down this dusty basement just plugging away miles on this treadmill. I never thought I'd enjoy treadmill running, but now I've started to enjoy it a little bit more. And just like realizing like, okay, you can run on a treadmill, maybe you have access to it, or you don't. Run on grass, run on dirt if you can. Be careful of tree roots on trails, that sort of a thing. Get in touch with nature, like trail runs. There's so many different things for you along the way that you can enjoy with running.
That's the important thing, Chris, I think, and you emphasized this to me when we last spoke, is the variety and what's accessible to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, we've got wonderful trails here. We're very fortunate. We've got great sidewalks, all the rest of it. So it's quite safe and it's a nice area to run in. It's been great for us to start our process. But, again, we can get into these fitness and longevity podcasts and we can hear, okay, if you don't spend like 9 hours in zone 2, why do you even exist?
Yeah.
Or no. You should only sprint if you're over 45 and you're a woman, or you have to do it this way.
Yeah.
And I think it's really funny. We had one of the world's leaders in VO2 max research on the show in Dr. Michael Joyner.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, I've got the guy for running coaching on. I'm like, okay, how do I break up my week? And he said, well, Jeremy, that's easy. He said, run a lot of miles, some of them faster than race pace, and rest every now and then.
I'm like, well, it's true. That's true. You can really overthink it because, you know what? Like, you're going to be individualized compared to me and Michelle and him and anyone else that's training, right? Like, and you also got to think about sometimes this certain longevity podcasters, they tend to be very extreme because they're going for clicks and that sort of a thing. And that's a whole other discussion. I actually feel like for me and my clients, what I like to do is be as efficient as possible, both in the movement, the workout time, the reps, the efficiency. Not to say I don't believe in aerobic training, because I actually do. I definitely believe in VO2 max, but I do feel that if you're training for a marathon, of course you got to put in the miles. But if you're trying to train for like overall the best bang for your buck heart health, right, with the best bang for your buck strength training and kind of mesh those two together, you can do like they call it the Norwegian 4x4 program, right?
Yeah.
That's been around forever.
So describe that for the listeners here.
Yeah. So super intricate. Back to, 4 minutes of activity of maybe like echo bike or assault bike, something full body movement, or the erg or concept 2 rower, running, swimming, doing around your VO2 max pace for 4 minutes of activity with a 3-minute active recovery. Could be an easy jog, easy row, or even a light, like a moderate walk, not like just sitting, but just enough to probably bring your heart rate down just enough so you can attack the next round. And you basically get like back to that 80-20 rule. You get percent, give or take, of the benefits of making your VO2 max stronger for, very minimal amount of work compared to like what a track and field enthusiast would be like, oh, well, here's what we're going to do. Now, yes, if you're trying to train for your fastest 10K, you probably are going to have to put in some zone 2 running and put in the miles, since it is a 6.2 mile race. But if you're generally like, I'm never going to run a 10K, I'm never going to run a marathon, I just want to have a healthy ticker, I want to lower my cholesterol, so tell me what to do. Okay, so we're going to do this back here. And then sometimes people are going to be like, I can't do it because my knees hurt and my ankles hurt. Great, you're going to get on the bike and you're going to do the exact same damn thing.
Exactly.
Or you're going to get on the rower and you're going to do the exact same thing, or whatever it might be. or get in the pool and do swimming with it. And then
Yeah.
you get that 3-minute active recovery, and you do 4 rounds of that. And this has been, so many scientists have done in the exercise sports science world, have done studies into this for overall like VO2 max and heart health. And they always come out with these things of like, waistline is the biggest predictor of either strong heart or whatever, and you're going to have heart disease if your waistline goes above the circumference, and then below that you're in the good zone, and you should be really worried about that. That's actually a great idea too. And this is one of those things that kind of falls in there of like, if your VO2 max can rise to a certain level and you train like this, you're going to be like, get so many physical benefits out of it, both physically from being stronger, also just getting your wind back, as I like to say. I'm not winded going up a flight of stairs. I'm able to keep my aerobic base pretty sound, but being efficient with your time and your movement. Guess how long that takes? Like 24 minutes when you add it all up, right? So it's like less than a half hour of your time, you can get like all this benefit, for the vast majority. Once again, if you're training for your fastest mile, if you're training for your fast 5K or 10K, this is a great little tool to have for the general population. Is an Olympic athlete going to follow that program? No, because they have so many things that they have to cover. Stop comparing yourself to the extremes of the equation and start comparing yourself to like the overall masses of what your true overall goal is. Like, I'm just trying to lower my LDL. Okay. I'm trying to lower my LDL cholesterol. Guess what? Your VO2 max goes up. You're going to be a hell of a lot healthier. You can go take any sort of stress test and you'll crush it. Any sort of life insurance exam, you'll crush it because you're overall healthier from doing a workout like that once or twice a week.
Chris, I love that message. Like the message of stop comparing yourself to the extremes.
Yeah.
And that's what we see on social media, isn't it? You're absolutely ripped. You've got like the examples of the people that you see online, and you're just like, oh my God, I need to do what they do. And well, no, like back up a little bit. Like, to be functional, to do the things you want to do, for the most part, having a 6-pack just means you don't eat enough, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you're going to be kind of lean,
people,
You can be NFL linemen are strong as hell, but they have a little bit extra girth around them, obviously, right? And I can guarantee if you tested their core strength, they'll be way stronger than probably 99.9% of the people out there that have a so-called 6-pack, just because their inner abdominals are just be so strong. Yes, it's covered in a layer of extra fat, such as their body size and their position in life and their career at that point in time when they're 25 years old.
Right. What are they training for?
Yeah.
Right. What are they training for? What works for their body? What are they trying to do? Their job's to be in the way, right? Be heavy and be really strong.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be big and in the way. Like slow the defense down. You want to be annoying. You want to not let the defense go past you. Of course, the bigger you are, the better you're going to be, right?
And that goes for the 4x4 as well. Like, I'm currently training for a 10K. I've got my plan. Great. Sometimes I don't have an hour and a half to be out running. Right. My plan says today's your long run. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do my 4x4. It's going to take me 25 minutes. Right. Because that's working for me. Now, for my body, you and I laughed about this as well. Like, I'm 5'9.5". I'm 225 pounds. Right. My body's just not going to take 2, 3, 4 hours of pounding at this point in my trajectory.
Yeah.
Right. As I keep going, if I do decide I want to go on and progress to a marathon, my weight's going to come down.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going to have to. So I think that doing workouts that work for you and keep you healthy as you're working towards your goals, that efficiency piece, I think, is really, really important.
100%. And every body is going to be different. And you're different now than you used to be when you were playing rugby. Harder than hell to tackle. You would wrap your arms around a guy like me at 6 foot tall, 178 pounds, right? But if you and me were running, obviously everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, that guy's of course,
that guy's a runner."
Yeah, that guy's the runner. Why don't I look like that? Well, because he's done this his whole life. Like if I was to try to be in a rugby field with you, I would get my ass handed to me in 2 seconds because I don't have the size capacity that you do. You don't want to be 6'6" and 225. You want to be compact, as you said it when we had our original talk. A baby elephant or a baby rhino. I can't remember what it was. I love it. I'm like, no shit. I'm like, you want to be like that. Just harder to
Yeah.
kill, if you will, right? But harder to tackle
Yeah.
in this instance. And it's also, you know, with running, a guy like yourself, like you have to be super careful because you got to set off enough osteoblasts in your shins so that you don't like get injured. And for the viewers out there,
Yes.
osteoblasts, they help your body get stronger, your bone structure get stronger. So that's why like sports like soccer in youth is really good because it helps strengthen the bones in your body, right? That sort of a thing. And gymnastics, for instance,
Right.
is too, because it helps strengthen your bones. The bones want to stress up to a certain point. They get a little stronger, same way that muscles do as well. Muscles, when we train, have small micro tears, right? You and I know that, but people are like, "Oh, my muscles are
Right.
torn." I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that muscle soreness. And then what happens is, then over the course of time, they get stronger, so they don't have those micro tears anymore. But then after a hard workout, you can still do that same lift that you did. You benched 100 pounds. Oh, I was a little
Right.
sore for 2 days, but then all of a sudden, the next workout at 100 pounds was a little less sore. And then after a while, you're not sore at all. But you're not gaining because you're not going
Exactly.
up in weight because your muscles need to be under stress safely. Same thing with bone
That's right.
structure, safely. You should not go out there and run 20 miles tomorrow if you've never run more than 1 mile, especially on Smith, right? Like, Smith's 10 times harder than
Exactly.
pavement, if I recall.
Exactly.
But like running on grass or dirt is going to be more helpful for you than running on Smith, right? Like, you know, we were just talking about that before we started about, you know, the trails by your house and everything else about,
Yeah.
you know, like you want to always run a safe course, you know, give and take of tripping over a tree root or pounding the
Yeah,
pavement too
right.
hard or pounding the Smith too hard. But you got to pick and choose your battles along the way. And also, like, even yourself, like, look at this, like, you're in Florida, like, get in a pool and do deep water pool running. Freaking phenomenal. Or get on, like,
Yeah.
you know, a recumbent bike, like an echo bike or an assault bike that, you know, you can do a whole body workout. Just stupid machine back there. Love it to hate it, hate to love it.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
along the
Yeah.
same lines. That's something too about being efficient in everything that we do. And I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do cardio or strength today. So I'll either get on the rower or like the echo bike and that's it. And I'll just like make up some workout for me. Sometimes it'll be like, you know, steady state, something for like 20 minutes if that's all I have.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll
Yeah.
be some sort of like stupid hard like interval if I want to go up a little harder, if I had an easier day the day before or that sort of a thing. I just feel good and I want to test myself. But no matter which way I cut it, I get off and I'm like taxed, you know, in
Yeah,
a great way.
exactly.
But guess
Yeah.
what I love about that compared to running, this is coming from a runner, right? Is that it doesn't take anything out of my joints. Like I didn't pound
Yeah.
my joints or my lower back or anything like that. And when I was competing in college, I was 6 foot tall, but like 135, 140, super skinny.
Oh, goodness.
You
Yeah.
know, like so skinny. And most runners they have to be, because, but you can produce the power through your foot strike. So you don't need to necessarily, you want to produce the max power with the lightest load on top, right? If you will.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't want to be like extremely heavy because you might produce the power, but you can't replicate that power over that distance, right?
Exactly.
Which,
Yeah.
back to you being at your size, you probably will, if you start training for a marathon versus 10K, you probably will come down and your
Yeah.
lifts may suffer, but your overall aerobic capacity will get a little bit
Right.
better.
My
But then
ability
what
to
you're going to do,
sustain.
you
Yeah.
can find your like equilibrium of like, hey, I don't need I'm just making up deadlift 600 pounds. I'm sure you probably have insane powerlifting numbers over the course of your lifetime, right? Oh, you know, a 450 is perfectly fine, right? Like,
Yeah.
no one's
Yeah.
going to care more than you or maybe like me to be like, oh, God, man, you did a 600-pound DL. But now
Yeah.
you run like whatever it is, you run 1 minute faster on your mile pace because like
Yeah.
you start to run a little bit more. You're still god awful strong for the overall human existence that you need. It's kind of like, how much actual
Exactly right.
strength do you need? And you see that amongst top level athletes too. It's like, as strength and conditioning coaches, you can really nerd out super quickly. And I remember I had a strength and conditioning coach, one of the guys that was our main guy that worked out that trained us at Florida. He was great in many ways, but he came from a football perspective to train track
Yeah.
and field athletes.
Yeah.
And I remember going into my coach one time and I'm like, Coach, I'm like, my hands were bloodied after like doing this so many cleans. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a $140. I could
Yeah.
like, I had a pretty decent squat, like relative, because obviously you're all legs, you know, as a runner. And I was
Yeah.
pretty powerful, right? But like upper body, overall full body strength, of course I look like a wuss compared to a football player because
Right.
they're not doing what I do and
'Cause you're
I'm
supposed
not
to.
doing what they do.
Yeah. They would look ridiculous trying to run on the track with you, right?
Yeah, right. So you
Yeah.
got to look at the athlete within the athlete in the event. And that's what was so cool about track and field is when you're on a team at a high level at the University of Florida, you're literally with Olympians. And then you also see other athletes train within the gym setting as well.
Yeah.
And you see this like smorgasbord of like crazy high level athletes across every single sport, men's, women's, doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
women's volleyball, men's baseball, track and field. Of course, you cover a wide swath of like the most
Yeah.
powerful people at their respective sizes in sports in general and track and
Yeah.
field because they're fast, they jump, they're superheroes for lack of a better term in those regards. They're doing superhuman
it's true,
things.
man.
Even
Like,
compared to
that's,
like a football player that could do a certain lift, there's football speed and then there's track speed, and they don't compare at all, right?
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
And like, that's why being a head strength coach at the NCAA level is still my favorite job. We, like you said, we just saw everything, but the track team, the things that you tested
Yeah,
progress, right?
Totally.
With a football team or with a basketball team, like how high can you jump? How fast can you run? Like that
Yeah.
was their sport with the track team, right?
Yep.
It was so different. And the variety of, and the spectrum of athleticism that we got to see. And none of them are any more impressive than the other, right? Like the cross country team that can come in. If you can put 100 miles a week on your body,
Yeah.
that's as impressive as being able to squat 1,000 pounds to me.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just like
So totally
mind blowing, right?
Every respective sport.
Unreal.
But but then like on the mainstream level across the rest of the world that we were talking about earlier, they see these extremes, or they're watching the NFL Combine and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I should be able to broad jump 12 feet. Dude, do you realize like barely anyone in the world broad jumps 12 feet, right? You're like,
Right.
you are
Right.
looking at like the most insane level athletes in the best way possible. It
Yeah.
should be almost like entertainment purposes, because that is so unachievable for 99.999% of the people on the planet. Like you are
Yeah.
literally looking at a superhero doing superhero things, and to be able
Yeah.
to do that, and like they're like, oh well, I want to train like them, and I'm like, you don't need to train like that. And even then, you see like the top level strength and conditioning coaches, even in football, like how much strength, because football is much faster, right?
Yeah.
Than it ever has been, and in the best way. So you see like a guy, even like Michael Strahan, he started out, I think, at like 290 and brought his weight down to like 240 as a defensive end, because the game changed during his time from the 90s to the early 2000s of like speed kills. Speed is everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you only need to lift a certain amount, but you need to be faster. Like you can be strong and slow, but it's hard to be fast and not strong. Right?
And there becomes a point with athletics where more strength isn't beneficial,
No,
right? It's
not at all.
diminishing returns. And I
Because
think that's
you get
where
the
we get
hypertrophy
to
where
in-
it's going to build the muscle fibers too much to where you're going to put on size.
Well, but even that, it doesn't help you be better at your sport,
No,
right? Being better at your sport makes you better at your sport at that
Exactly.
point, right? The fitness is entry level. And I think these extremes are why people get frustrated when they haven't achieved their goal in their first 3 months. You know, I'll go right back to the start of the episode. And we talked about we're coming out of Q1 and we're getting to the end of New Year,
Yeah.
New Me. People are starting to drop off. And I think a lot of people don't realize the consistency that it takes and how long it can take for the physiology of the human body to adapt.
Mm.
And you know, you work with so many people and in the online space, you know, you're working with all sorts of populations. What do you see with the people who have the most success in achieving their goal? What are some of the commonalities that you see with those people?
I think discipline more than anything. I just think it's like kind of like it's a commitment that they made to themselves, because they know that they're going to be the best selves for their spouse, their colleagues, their business, whatever it might be. If they can get in there 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 45 minutes of a workout, whatever it might be, in the morning or in the evening or during the middle of the day, just because it's going to make them that much honed in on their overall goal, not so much physically, but more what they bring into their own world
Yeah.
together. And when they when they turn the mechanism in your head versus I want a six pack, I want to lose this tire on my waist, I want to have huge biceps. You know what? Like there's ways around that, but really, what do you want your biceps? You want to be more assertive, don't you? That's what you want. You want to have you want to have your shoulders pulled back a little bit more. Wouldn't that be a little bit better to have your shoulders pulled back, your posture up a little bit stronger, so you're standing an inch taller, right? You don't want necessarily big biceps. You want maybe some cut arms, but
maybe you want some presence.
You want some presence, right? There's a whole host of ways to do that that'll make you overall healthier in a small amount of time of like getting your shoulders pulled back. You know, you want to lose the tire around your waist. Maybe it's nothing in the gym. Maybe you should think about all those sodas that you've been drinking or the alcohol you've been drinking. Because that's going to be like, you know, a couple hundred calories a pop. You drink 2 sodas a day, do that math really quick and dirty. All of a sudden, you just lost 20 pounds right there. You didn't have to lift a weight, run a mile, or do jack crap. All you had to do is stop drinking soda. Oh my God, the mind's blown. But like, and you show them the actual numbers. This is what a calorie equates to for a pound of fat. Like these are kilocalories. Like this is the science. Like this is like a non-negotiable. Like this is exactly black and white. And you show them to people and they're like, oh, so all I have to do is do that. And then they do it. And they're like, oh my God, it's amazing.
There we go.
But like the discipline it takes to like not crack that soda because you're bored with life or you feel like you deserve something sweet or whatever the hell bullshit excuse is. Like you're going to be able to like be so honed in on your overall goals for making those super small changes that are going to be so inclined to your overall health and longevity, but it's going to have to start with discipline on your own end.
Well,
and a lot of times it's going to be small things within discipline. You're not saying, oh, you got to run a mile every day for the rest of your life or whatever, or you got to run 10 miles, you got to do 100 pull-ups or whatever, or you're never going to drink a soda. You know what? You used to drink 15 sodas a week. How about you drink 1 soda a day for the next week? So that's 7.
See
and then how
goes.
about you drink a soda every other day for the second week? And then how about you drink a soda only on Sunday or Saturday watching a ball game? And how about you do that for the rest of your life, but you're drinking 1 soda a week and the rest of them you're not going to drink. They're going to be like, okay. Like all of a sudden it's more attainable because you started small, you missed small. Now if I was to say cold turkey, screw soda, you're never going to drink it again. Guess what? You know, like
not going to happen.
2 days into it, they'd be like, oh my God, I like, give me all the Coca-Cola and Pepsi in my life.
Well,
or
and it goes all or nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like, so then you're away. Okay, we're not doing anything. And then you screw up once and you think, well, screw it. I'm going right back to it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I messed it up. Doesn't work. And I think, Chris, people underestimate those small adjustments over time. Like behavior change just takes time.
Totally.
And the discipline, what I found when we were most successful, both Michelle and I, and with the athletes, was when we crafted the environment to optimize for discipline.
100%.
Real easy for me to not drink a soda if there aren't any in the fridge.
Exactly.
Right.
Don't go to the grocery store hungry or thirsty.
Exactly. Right. You said it on our call. Sticking to the outside of the grocery store. If I don't want to buy cookies, don't walk down the cookie aisle.
Yeah.
Right. We can engineer discipline. We can engineer success by crafting our environment to encourage better choices. I know if I have a pot of hummus and some carrot sticks already cut, that's way easier for me than if I've got a bunch of sodas and a bunch of cookies and a bunch of other processed stuff. And then I got to take carrots out and chop them up at the time of my snack.
Yeah.
Not
it's kind of like,
all right, I'm reaching for the easiest thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
And
exactly
like, look, if my wife, if she comes back, like occasionally pastries or something from a kid's party or whatever, or an event and whatever, and you bring it back, I'm going to house those cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. And guess what? Thank God she doesn't buy them all the time because I'd eat cookies every day if I did. But there's nothing wrong with eating those like 2 or 3 cookies at that point in time because it's going to be like, it's going to be like once a month. Right. And then sometimes if you're lucky and you ate enough, you're going to get a stomach ache and you'll be like, I don't want to see another cookie again. So I always say if you're going to cheat well, so you get a stomach ache, like get the whipped cream on your ice cream, get that stomach ache, and then just forget about it. Like, because you're going to feel like crap afterward. And guess what? If I have more than 1 cookie, you're going to kind of be like, I don't need all that sugar. Why am I so wigged out right now? And then if you eat like a big ass ice cream sundae, you're all of a sudden like, oh God, I feel like, ugh, you
Yeah.
don't want to
Yeah.
do it. And then just remember that feeling and say,
Yeah.
how much better do you feel when you eat clean, when you work out? The human body's conditioned to release endorphins and beat cortisol down, right? Like it's going to
Yeah.
feel better if you do that. That's the way our hormones work. And if you do that correctly and you don't fight nature, you're going to be good. The problem is in in this day and age in 2026, like information age or social media age, whatever you want to call it, like we are just preconditioned for like instant gratification, sitting culture, and
Yeah.
everyone's an expert.
Well, that's the thing. Like, and everyone has such like you mentioned the clickbait. Everyone has such an adamant this way or no way, and the like physiology just doesn't change quickly, right? It's the same stimulus over a 6 to 8 week period before you start seeing adaptation within your physiology.
100%.
Right. So being within a program, we got people switching programs every day and we want to do the latest thing, or, I'm 4 weeks in, it didn't work. I'm switching again. Well, that didn't work. I'm doing this new one.
Yep.
And when we switch between programs, we reset the clock, right? If we think that we're going to create that adaptation that takes 8 weeks and we switch every 4, we never get there.
Yep.
And so
100%.
I think it's just important to stay within the process. We actually plan our workouts for the week. We write them down ahead of time. Here's what we're doing and here's when. And then we plan our meals to go with them. Right.
Smart.
And it's not sophisticated.
Yeah.
It's not over the top, but it takes a bit of that decision fatigue on the day out of it, where we can show up. We say, okay, Monday, we've got to run and we're having a homemade carbonara tonight. Right. After
Sounds
a run.
good. Now you're getting me hungry.
I know. So look, I know we're coming up on time here.
Yeah.
So Chris, every episode we do 3 takeaways. What are the 3 key things that you would want people to take away from today's conversation?
I think that be forgiving to yourself. We talked about it briefly. If you missed a workout, you ate a cheat meal, whatever, like don't worry about it. Life happens. I think another one is think long-term vision over the course of a week or a month. Bad days happen, but the most successful people in their fitness and longevity programs will be able to circumvent those 1 or 2 bad days and just jump back in the saddle and get back into that action because they know that it's the long-term vision. It's not the short term that's going to be like their determining factor. And lastly, I think realize why you're doing this. Smile, like have fun when you do it. Don't take it so seriously. Realize that within 5 minutes of you moving your body, you're going to feel a heck of a lot better than you just did, even if you were in cloud 9 earlier, right?
Yeah.
It's always the first 5 or 10 minutes. It's hard, if especially for the morning workout, you're like, oh my God. And I've been working out for 35 plus years, I guess.
Yeah.
And like, it's 5 minutes. The first 5 minutes is always kind of like, oh my God, like what's wrong with me today? And then you start moving, you feel like the Tin Man from like Wizard of Oz, and you start moving around a little bit. Like, dang man, I still got it. I feel good. I'm like 25 again. But in all seriousness, like have fun with what you're doing. Like if you like running, run. If you hate running, don't. But you got to get in some aerobic activity. Find a bike. If you like swimming, I guarantee you're going to find some aerobic activity that you're going to like to do. If you like lifting, maybe you drop the weight a little bit and you get your heart rate up a little bit more with like conditioning style lifting, like maybe where you go back and forth between like med ball circuits of tossing or squatting and throwing med balls against the wall or rotational work. And then you like come back over and you hit some squats or bench or whatever it is, something to get your heart rate up, but like moderate. Obviously with that, you'd lighten the load off of like a traditional big lifting scheme or whatever, or, so figure out like what you like to do and do it. And if you don't like to do something, realize there's a different exercise that you could probably do to get the overall same metabolic effects. Some people don't back squat. Okay, maybe you like goblet. Maybe you can goblet squat, especially the taller folks, like front squat. Maybe like hex bar deadlift is like my go-to best favorite lift as I've gotten older. I wish it was more prevalent when I was younger because I actually think for more athletes it's safer than like cleans and going back. Not to say that there's anything wrong with cleans. I love the USAW, but I think it's actually something that should be really learned. And by and large, most athletes that do that, I see them on Instagram, even at the D1 level, and I'm like, oh my God, I just saw their wrist.
Like, please stop doing that.
And they're like the quarterback. I'm like, do you realize like your basketball team does not need like you could get triple extension off of doing a hex bar. Like you can do that. Like that's what you're trying to do. So like figure out like what you like to do safely and do it, and that's, and you don't have fun with it along the way. So that was like 3.5 or so, but I hope your viewers, love this episode. I love being on with you. I'd love to be on with you again and at some point in time.
We'll do it.
But you and Michelle are doing great work, and you keep it up, Jeremy. It's awesome talking to you, and hopefully your listeners got a lot out of this episode. Can't wait to see it. There's no question. Chris, where can people find you and follow up with you and track what you're doing? Oh, thank you so much. I'm actually available at Chris Ryan Fitness on Instagram. So it's ChrisRyanFitness on Instagram. And also on ChrisRyanFitness.com. It's you can see my fitness app there. I also do one-to-one training, coaching programs as well. 3 and 6 month transformation programs for people already to get them going. Very, intricate programming along like their life goals. A lot of executives, a lot of like 35 to 55-year-old sweet spot of busy parents. Cause I love to show busy parents and busy executives or busy business people that you really need to be in it for the long-term longevity, because you do not need to be the 55-year-old version of your parents. You could be the 45-year-old version at 55 of yourself, if you will, and really like turn the clock back on father time. Because I'm proof of it. My clients are, you're proof of it right now, right? Like when you tell people your age, they're like, what do you mean? It's like, and I still like to have a beer and a cheeseburger and pizza and a cookie every once in a while too. I just don't do it every night. And guess what? I don't work out every day, That's right. But I've been working out pretty consistently my whole life in one way, shape, form, or another. Exactly right. So, it's about doing those small things along the way. But, Jeremy, this has been absolutely awesome. Appreciate the shout out. And whatever I can do along lines to help you, your Michelle out along the ways with your podcast professionally, awesome. Friendship level. If you're ever up in New York City area, I'm ever down in South Florida, I'll get you in for a run, man. You just don't tackle me. Just don't tackle me.
Depends how quick you're running away from me.
Awesome stuff, man.
Chris, thank you, mate. We really enjoyed this, and people get so much from it.
Great. Awesome work, Jeremy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, brother. What a great conversation with Chris Ryan. Here are the 3 key things that you can take away from today's episode. Number 1, be forgiving to yourself. If you've missed a workout or ate off plan, don't spiral. Life happens, and the most successful people in fitness are the ones who shake it off and get back in the saddle without drama. Number 2, think long-term vision, not short-term perfection. 1 or 2 bad days don't define your progress. The people who build lasting health are the ones who zoom out, stay committed to the big picture, and keep moving even when momentum stalls. Number 3, find what you're enjoying and do it. If you hate running, don't run. But do find something that gets your heart rate up and makes you want to come back. The best workout is the one you'll actually show up for over and over again. And remember, the first 5 minutes are always the hardest. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the show is to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts and leave a rating or a review. It makes a real difference in helping us reach more people who could benefit from these conversations. You can stay connected with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Vitality Collective Performance, where we share additional insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. The information shared in this episode is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your training, recovery, or health practices. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.